Greatness, greatness, greatness is yours once you claim it, or excuse me, as soon as you claim it. This is Keystone. Welcome to Code Red, Reverse Engineering Destiny. Today, I'm going to continue with the vocabulary words that are going to be used to help expose or to get you to see what's really going on in front of your face with just the difference of the words. Excuse me for a moment. The funny colors. That's a little better. All right, so again, with the words that are being used day to day, without really having a understanding of what the words truly mean and why they were created and who created them, and just the elementary understanding that we have of the English language. So go ahead and start off. As I said, this is Code Red, and I am Keystone. I am amplifying energy, frequencies, and information that generates increases of consciousness, self-awareness, and self-love for men and women who do not know who they are or the power they possess. So, the other shows I am building toward what the problem is, what's really going on, and be able to provide the solutions. But the way that I like to go about it is I like to start at the fundamentals, which with everything that is going on, all of the hypnosis and all of the misunderstanding, so many other adjectives to describe it. But basically, the illusion that's painted in front of everybody is done by the words that we are given. And going through public education, we're truly dumbed down. Each generation is dumber than the generation before. And I've been around long enough to see that the generations that are coming around now can't even touch the generation that I was raised in when it comes to logic thinking, critical thinking, application of anything, reading comprehension on down to just being physical. So again, the words are being used to hide what's really going on, because if there's a good word for something, again, I may have used it before, but if not, this is, plain and simple, the word stop. The word parking was created to create confusion. So if you have a good word, which is stop, what is the purpose of creating parking? So once you can start to dig in and start to pull at the strings or the threads of everything, and stuff will start pulling apart, and you'll be able to see things, clearly, well, more clearly than you do at this current time. So they created parking so they could get money out you. So when they speak to you, they put words in your mouth. Again, when they speak to you, they put words in your mouth. If you never correct the word or wording or phrases, it's basically like you accepted a verbal contract. So they gave you the word, they told you that you were parking, they're going to write you a ticket because you were parking. You didn't even have the know-it-all to know that the word is stopped. You are stopped. You're not parking, you're stopped. You're awaiting. So as long as you don't correct them with parking, you are parking. And when you're going to go to court, they're going to beat you up because contractually you verbally agreed to what he said to you, because if not, you would have corrected him at that time. And many people are not aware that that can be something that we can do. But the major reason is because of the fear. Everybody watches TV and see the cops are supposed to have this power and authority and jurisdiction over everything, but it's actually the counter. And the more that you become aware of this, the funnier it becomes. I mean, like, honestly, when hearing people speak and hearing conversations and even watching TV, and it's a bunch of babble because they're just using a bunch of colorful poetic words to just take your mind somewhere and let you implement your imagination on top of what they're saying, so they don't have to say anything else because you're going to do the rest. So I started off, this is the sixth show. So the first started off with grammar, grammatical, grimoire, glamour, spell, and magic. The second show was potion, lotion, experiment, experimental, exterminate, exterminator, remedy, empirical. Pharmacy, pharmacist, third show, pharmacy, pharmacist, pharmaceutical, potentiate, and drug. The fourth spin, leech, doctor, doctorate, doctrine, physics, medic, beast, burden. Fifth show, human right, right, ritual, groom, boy, eugenics, humanity, humanize, Neanderthal, misanthropy. So I'm building up to share with you what is going on. What is going on is a methodical process that's taken hundreds of years to get to this point. And what it is these people that are humans, if you want to call them fallen angels or whoever, whatever you want to call them, I'm just going to call them humans. Human, human, two words, hue and man, not man. Hue is a color of, or a kind of, a category or section, and man speaks for itself. Man was created to walk on land. So starting with grammar, so that's, people are unaware that grammar means magic. Glamour means magic. A spell, spell. I mean, the words are there, but when they give us the third and fourth and sixth definition of the word and use it in the context that they're not using it in, or they frame it in the context along with media and everything outside of you, as far as influences, you can really look at the word itself and focus on what it truly says. So when someone tells you that you're learning spelling in school, it's not likely that you're going to accept that. You're going to have something to say that magic is this and da 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 da, but anything that you're going to say is going to be poetic. It's going to be a story. It's going to be fictional. It's going to be something that was given to you from TV. That's what it is. So, through the use of magic and poisons and potions and wordplay, they're removing you from your status of man. You're who was supposed to inherit the land. And as long as you call yourself human, you're not man, because humans are defined or associate themselves with adjectives. And there's not an adjective that is more powerful or stronger than man or woman. It just isn't, regardless of how you feel about it. So, so what we're going to do today is going to be more focused on the mind aspect. So we got the magic, we got the words, we got the pharmaceutical companies, we got this, the propaganda, putting this stuff up in you. And, again, this is all of these are from etymology online. And going with these, using this particular reference source to just a good foundation. There's older dictionaries and there's older words. I could go to the Greek, go to the Hebrew, but I'm going to use the etymology because etymology is the root of the word. Not saying that it's the end all, but the majority of the words are roughly definitions from the 14th, 15th, 16th century, definitely way before we were born. And have a stronger attachment to the volition of the word meaning when it was created. And now it's watered down, just as you see with our language, is watered down, it's switched and flipped. Somebody calls something one day and then it catches on and it takes on a whole nother meaning. But what I do remind, let me say this as well. People like to become emotionally attached to words or anything that they've learned or been using for however long it's been. And when it comes to these words, your definition of these words do not apply to any damn thing except for to you, because if you had the definition and your definition was the definition of the word and so on and so forth, you would not need an attorney or lawyer when you go to court, or you have to do something official when they're using big words. That's a problem. Those are the gatekeepers. They're standing in between you and your lot, your rightful lot. So we're going to start off with this first pronoun, which is I. 12th century, a shortening of Old English ik, I see. The first person singular nominative pronoun from Proto-Germanic ek. I, nominative form of the first person singular pronoun. Greek, ego. Russian, ja. Lithuanian, I don't know how to pronounce the AS. Reduced to I by mid-12th century in northern England. Later everywhere, from ich, ICH, to ik, IK, especially before vowels. Lingered in northern England until circa 1400, and survived in southern dialects until 18th century. It began the reasoning for writing the I is orthographic, habit in the Middle Ages for using the long I, that is J or L. Whenever the letter was isolated or formed the last letter of a group, the numeral 1 was written J or I, and 3 I's, etc., just as much as the pronoun. Growth and structure of the English language. The dot on the small letter of the I began to appear in the 11th century. Latin manuscripts to distinguish the letter from the stroke of another letter, such as M or N. Originally a diacritic, it was reduced to a dot with the Middle English during the centuries when I intended to be written with a closed loop at the top, thus was almost indistinguishable from the lowercase thorn. In names, U.S. highways by 1966. It is a short for interstate, an adjective. All right, pronouns. So pronouns are used to describe a person or something, and without constantly using the name. So what's happened is that we've gotten so used to using pronouns and speaking in that type of way that we become attached to a pronoun. So if we're reading something and it says you, just by nature, you accept that it's you that they're speaking about without hearing your name. They're aware of this. So again, this is the trickery. Some going to take it, some not. But as you proceed and you grow, these are things that you're going to have to accept, regardless of what you say and who say and they say. This is simply what it is. All right, so we got I. That's where we're starting off. So after I, we got ego. By 1707 in metaphysics, the self, that which feels, acts, or thinks, from the Latin I, cognate from Old English ik, ci. It is used implied in egoity. They have, they that have pleaded against propriety and would have all common things in this world have forgotten that the propriety is our present egoity and natural constitution, which rendereth some accidental propriety necessary to us. Psychoanalytic, Freudian, sense in 1894, sense of conceit is 1891, ego trip first recorded 1969 in the book Egoism. It is written, possession without obligation to the object possessed approaches felicity. So ego, so that's something that we learned that is, they say that's inside of you. That's your, what they call your alternate personality, the other side of you. But as you become more and more aware of your awakening and who you are and the power that you have, you're going to learn that the ego is not separate from you. It is you. It is a part of you. It's a portion of you. It doesn't have to be the total of you, but it is you. So for you to separate yourself from your ego, that's really separating yourself from yourself. So you're going to be an endless cycle of doubt, depression, not knowing who you are. So, all right. So, through psychology, yeah, that's where ego really comes up, real big. Like they said, they, brought in Freud, and yeah, I remember in psychology class, this man Freud, I'm gonna call him Freud. They have him as like the the man of man when it comes to psychology. Everything that, you know, the basis of the saying that the practice is all around Freud. But I'm not going to go into what I'm aware of about him now, but very interesting. All right, so after ego, we have superego, the part of the psyche that controls the forces of the id. 1924 as a translation of German Über-ich. You know, so all right, now we have id. Id is another name for the ego, you know, fraud again. Yeah, 1924, and John Riviere has translated of Freud's Das Ich und das Es. Tried to make that sound German, but not Spanish. From Latin, id. It is a translation of German S, you know, Freud's title, using psychoanalytical theory to denote the unconscious instinctual force. Latin id is from prominent stem I. You know, all right. So the id is explained as the part that, you know, the unconscious part of your mind that, you know, a lot of the thinking and processing goes on in, and that's just the name that they gave it. So it said see yon. So this word got interesting. So yon, I had a thought in my mind of what yon was referring to or related to, but when I pulled up the definition and read it, it was totally different. So it became interesting. So yon, yon, adjective, pronoun, Old English geon, that over there. A whole lot of extra stuff. Our third person pronoun, that, the same id, it, the one, Old Slavonic, onu, he, Lithuanian, ans for he, as an adverb in the 15th century, a shortening of yonder. So yonder, I don't know how it ended up being with id and ego and I, but I'm gonna read the definition for yonder. So this is where, again, where I share, when you look at words and you read, you start to see that yeah, things are not what you thought. You know, yonder was that country word that used to make me laugh when I would hear, you know, country people talk about something, you know, down yonder. So yonder is an adverb. Within sight but not near, circa 1300, from Old English geon, throughout, up to, as far as, comparative suffix, cognative Middle Low German gender, Ginder, Middle Dutch gender, Gender, Dutch gender, Ginder, Gothic genre, now replaced except in poetic usage by ungrammatical that. All right, so instead of that, I see they used to use yonder. Pretty interesting. So here we go. All right, so now, you know, as you can see, now we're dealing with the mind, the thought, your processing, subconscious, conscious mind. So IDIO as a prefix, word forming element meaning one's own, personal, distinct, from Greek idios, own, personal, private, one's own, see idiom. So what you're going to do is you're going to become more aware of prefixes. And even though you may not know a word, but if you know prefixes and suffixes, you can have a pretty solid idea of what the word is. Not saying you'll be 100%, but you'll be able to pick up on some things. So IDIO, so anything with IDIO is meaning own or personal. So the first word I have is idiom, IDIOM, noun. 1580s, form of speech peculiar to people or place, meaning phrase or expression peculiar to a language, is from 1620s. From French, idiome, 16th century, and directly from Latin, idioma, is peculiarity in language. From Greek, idioma, peculiar phraseology. It's a manifestation of peculiar. The closest possible translation to the Greek word is idiomai, to appropriate to oneself, personal, private, personally, particular to oneself. This is the suffix from the root word, pronoun of the third person and reflective, referring back to the subject of a sentence, also used in the forms denoting the speaker's social group. We, ourselves. Lord, literally created from oneself. Greek, ha, hos, H-O-S. He, she, it. Latin, sucere, to accustom, get, accustomed. Sodalis, companion. Slavonic is SVOJI. His, her, its, relative kinsmen. Um, one's own, oneself, self, himself. Grammar and idiom are independent categories, being applicable to the same material. They sometimes agree and sometimes disagree about particular specimens of it. The most can be said that what is idiomatic is far more often grammatical than ungrammatical. But that is worth saying because grammar and idioms are sometimes treated as incompatibles. Interesting. So, knowing what grammar is dealing with magic. I didn't go in far on idiom, but after this, I'm gonna go a little deeper and see what I can find out. Because again, I skim over the words and I put them together to build a certain way. But I like to read the definitions fully as I'm doing them online, so as I read them and things become unveiled and I can make ties. That's what I like. So, okay. Grammar and idiom, no doubt. All right, so after idiom, I have idiosyncrasy, which is a noun, circa 1600 from French. However you say it in French, Latin, from Latinized form of Greek, idiosyncrasia, a peculiar temperament from idios, one's own, see idiom. Temperament, mixture of personal characteristics from together. Sin plus crassus, to mix, confuse, cook, see rare. Originally in English, a medical term meaning physical constitution of an individual. Mental sense, peculiar mixture of elements in one person that makes up the character or personality, first attested the 1660s. In modern use, loosely, one's whims, habits, fads, or tastes, sometimes confused. And all right, so idiosyncrasy is sound like, not to say crazy, but I'm confused. Not solid, just go with the flow. Wherever the wind blows, they go. So interesting. It's a state of mind. All right, so with idiosyncrasy, even though it's spelled with CRASY, I do know that S's and Z's can be interchangeable, especially when it comes to older language. So idiosyncrasy just means idiosyn crazy. So I pulled up crazy as an adjective. So here we go. 1570s, disease, sickly, a sense noun obsolete. 1580s, broken, impaired, full of cracks or flaws, from crazy. Meaning deranged, demented, of unsound mind and behaving as so, is from 1610s. Jazz slang, sense cool, exciting, is attested by 1927. Related crazily, craziness. To drive someone crazy is attested by 1873. To do something like crazy with manic vigor or frequency is by 1905. The phrase crazy like a fox has origins by 1935. Crazy horse, name of a Teton Lakota swan. War leader, 1877, translates literally, his horse is crazy. Crazy quilt, 1886, preserves the original break into pieces sense of craze. Crazy bone has an alternative to funny bone, is recorded in 1853. Spelling with the word CRACY, but it is from crassus, not kratos. All right, so got a definition of adjective. Definition of crazy, which is the adjective. So just somebody with a bunch of flaws. That's what crazy is. We had another definition of that, but literally that's what, crazy means. Something with a bunch of flaws. So when you tell somebody they're crazy, you don't even know what you're saying about them. All right, so craze, which is a verb. Late 14th century, craze and crazen, to shatter, crush, break into pieces. Probably of Germanic word and perhaps ultimately from Scandinavian source. But it seems to have entered English via Old French, crasser, or crasser, however you say it in French. Original sense preserved in Crazy Quilt, 1886. Pattern and a reference for cracking and poetry glazing. Mental sense of deranged, the intellect, mental sense of deranged, the intellect of. Make insane, late 15th century. Perhaps comes via the transferred sense of be diseased or deformed, mid 15th century, or it might be an image of cracked or broken things. The intransitive sense became insane. It's by 1818, relating crazy. There is little assurance in reconciled enemies whose affections, for the most part, are like unto glass, which being once cracked can never be made otherwise then crazed and word don't make a VN sound. The life and reign of King Henry III. All right, so got the verb. So to shatter, to break into pieces, it didn't come till early 18th century, 1800s, where they start using the for the mental. But craze, overwhelming is shattered, a bunch of pieces, not put together, not whole. I can say that. All right, so now excuse me, craze as a noun. Late 15th century, breakdown in health, from craze. In its Middle English sense of to shatter, break into pieces, and 16th century later, also a flaw, a defect, infirmity, perhaps via a notion of a mental breakdown by 1813. This sense was extended to mania, irrational, fancy, fad, or to the Century Dictionary defined it as an unreasoning or capricious liking or affecting of liking, more or less sudden, temporary, or usually shared by a number of persons, especially in society, for something particular, uncommon, peculiar, or curious. 1897. All right, so now we're getting toward a little of what we know crazy as, but still is not what I thought crazy was as far as growing up. I thought crazy was just a whole nother thing, to see that it really came from breaking apart and, however it took his mental path as far as what we know it as, that remains to be seen, but that's pretty interesting. All right, so idiopathy, IDIOPATHY, noun, primary disease, 1690s, modern Latin from medical Greek, from idios, one's own, see idiom, pathia, abstract noun, formative from patho, suffering, disease, feeling, to suffer. All right, so idiopathy is disease, suffering, and it's done by one's own. So with build those words and come back to this and all that it, not all, but it helps to be aware that everything that's being done to you is so you can do damage to yourself. So by breaking you down, by giving you shitty words or shitty definitions of words, when they use them in a whole nother manner, they know the manner that you're going to use them in, it's going to cause a lot of conflict in life. It's going to cause a lot of confusion. You're not going to know a lot of things that's going on. So when these words are spoken, or for instance, I'm just going to go back to court. When you go to court, you can't go talk to the magistrate or anybody using your definitions unless you outline your definitions beforehand, but that's a whole nother process. So when you go in, again, that's why you have to get the attorney, because you communicate on the level of a third grader when you go to court. When you get an attorney, you go as the attorney is your guardian. You're the ward of the guardian. That's why you got to shut the hell up. The judge does not hear you because you're a child. You're an infant. If you were a man or a woman in court, you wouldn't need an attorney. You would speak on your own. But since you had to get somebody to speak on your behalf, he doesn't want to hear nothing from you because you have proven yourself right then and right there that you're incompetent, accepted or rejected. All right, so next we got is idiotype. It's a noun, object typical of a class. So idiotype is just typical of a class. All right, IDEO, prefix, word forming element variously used with reference to images or to ideas, from Greek idea, form, the look of a thing, a kind, sort, nature, mode, fashion, and logic, a class, kind, sort, species. See idea. All right, so now IDEO, again, as a prefix, letting you know it's dealing with logic, a class, a type of species. So now idea, noun, IDEA, it's a noun, late 14th century, Archetype, concept of a thing of the mind of God. The Latin idea, Platonic idea, archetype, a word in philosophy. The word Cicero writes it in Greek, and the idea takes from the Greek idea, form, look of a thing, a kind, sort, nature, mode, fashion, and logic, a class, kind, sort, species, from idean, to see, suffix of the root word to see. In Platonic philosophy, an archetype or pure immaterial pattern of which the individual objects in the one natural class are but the imperfect copies of the participation in which they have their being. Meaning, mental image or picture is from the 1610s. The Greek word for it was enoia, Ennoia, originally act of thinking, as in the sense concept of something to be done, concept of what ought to be, differing from what is observed, sense or result of thinking, first recorded 1640s. It's from the French, literally fixed idea. IDEE fixe is French, so ID fixe. Through Latin, the word phrase to Dutch, German, Danish, IDEE, which also is found in English dialects. The philosophical sense has been somewhat further elaborated since the 17th century. All right, so big idea come from 1908. So idea is something that comes from the mind, come from ideas, thoughts, put them together, and you think, come from thinking. Separate things by categories or however you sort them out, and that's what idea is. You know what I'm saying? Is idea is something different than the other. All right, so ideology. So ideology, 1796. It's a science of ideas, originally philosophy of the mind, which derives knowledge from the senses as opposed to metaphysics. Study of science of ideas coined by French philosopher Destutt de Tracy. From idio of ideas, Greek idea, logy, logy, L-O-G-Y, with connective O because the elements are Greek and the Greek combining vowels is O for nouns of all declensions. Where did the declensions? Destutt published his Elements de Ideologie. He died in 1815. The term ideology did not become widely employed until the 19th century. However, and I have not found that Emerson ever used it. It was only after the appearance of Karl Marx long published the German, published the German ideology, that Karl Mannheim's ideology and utopia in the period between the world wars of the 20th century, that the term became omnipresent one, mine and the American Civil War. Meaning the systemic set of ideas, doctrines through which the world is interpreted, was in use in English by 1907, earliest in socialist and communist writing. With reference to class, from 1918, it came to be used in socialism and communism themselves, along with fascism. And later, more broadly still, ideology is usually taken to mean the prescriptive doctrine that is not supported by rational argument. Boom, there it is. Ideology, the silly shit that's going on now that got you totally forgetting that you're a man and that you're natural and that everything's been provided for you. So through accepting their ideology that you're a human and that you're weak and that you are toxic, and the way to cure that is to put more toxic shit in you, is idiotic. All right, so idea genius. Generating, adjective. All right, so generating or giving rise to ideas, 1839. A word from early psychology, apparently coined by Dr. Thomas Laycock, house surgeon to York County Hospital, Edinburgh Medical and Surgical. All right, so what's going on are words that have taken effect on people, but nobody looks at it. So what is going on through thoughts and through outside interference or a third party? All it needs is something to catch your attention, And once it catches your attention, you're going to think about it. And if you don't have control over your thoughts or control over your mind and where you're the direction and focus on what you want to think about, these things that are outside of you are going to give you ideas. And through them ideas, going to give you thoughts and actions. And so many things happen because of you thinking or the ideas that you come up with because of this outside influence or third party influence. So what's going on now is that there's a whole lot of ideas in this world where people think that they are something that they're not just because they feel this way or they see this going on and they want to be part of it. That's unfortunately, I ain't say unfortunately, part of being a man or woman is that some people are influenced by others and they want to, what do they call it? The fear of missing out. So a lot of people have the fear of missing out right now because they jump on the board a bunch of shit that they have no idea for what, where it came from, what it was for, and who it's for. But because a bunch of idiots got together and said, we're going to do this and do that, and other people just join them because it just seems to be the thing, that's not the way to go, because through their ideas, it's going to be your destruction. Yeah. All right. So, ideate is a verb. 1600. Imagine, form ideas. So, to ideate is to imagine, form ideas. So that's something that you do. So, ideate. Ideograph. Character or symbol which suggests an object without expressing its name. 1841. From ideo. Here as in combining of ideo and graph, instrument for recording something written. So, an ideograph again. A character or symbol. So for those that are not aware, open your damn eyes, because that's what's going on. They want you to accept being something other than man or woman. So something other than man and woman, they want you to accept an adjective. And after you get used to accepting the adjective, they're going to give you an ideograph, which is a symbol. So if you pay attention to what's going on, they don't refer to people as men and women. They put up a damn symbol with arrows and colors and all kind of stuff that you accept as you. That's you, yourself. That's personal. Because you are not aware that you're a man or a woman. Once you become aware of man and woman and the power that you truly have, there's no way that you're going to let somebody, put an ideograph on you or refer to you as such. No, they're going to have to deal with you as how you wish to be dealt with. But as long as you let somebody call you, refer to you as an adjective and a symbol, there's nothing to respect, because you don't respect yourself. If you respected yourself, you would take, I don't like using the word pride, but you would take more accountability for yourself. All right, so now we got ideal, hypothetical, perfect person, thing, or state. See, there's that hint, standard or model of perfection. Ideal is not real. Ideal is just an idea. See, these words, we give the definition and the meaning to them because what they mean to us. But something that's ideal doesn't mean it's real. It comes from somebody's thought. It's not manifested. That's all it is. Hypothetical. All right. So idealism, 1796, is the abstract metaphysical sense. Belief that reality is made up of only ideas. Probably formed on Middle French, idealisme, meaning tendency to represent things as an ideal form, is from 1829, meaning pursuit of the ideal, a striving after a perfect state. So again, belief. Belief is not factual. Again, belief is not factual. It's subjective. So all of these things require your belief in them. And once you put all your belief in them, that's what gives it the power. That's what gives it the energy. That's what gives it life. Once you give something life, you allow it to take over you. That's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? Again, these words, they spit them on the news. And when they speak it, you can't distinguish between a adjective and a noun. when they speak of these adjectives, very colorful, very poetic, and it allows your mind to go somewhere to fill it in, because that is one thing. No one likes to feel like a dummy. So when they throw these words or these thoughts out there, it's like a relay race. Once they hand that baton to you, you take off, and they just stop and watch. You do the rest. Oh man. All right. So idealist is a noun, one who represents things in an ideal form. 1829 from ideal in this. Earlier 1796 in a philosophical sense, one who believes reality consists of only platonic ideals. See idealism. It seems even incredible that any idealist in any age could forget himself so far as to run his head against a post, merely because he found in his system that no external world does exist, and that therefore nothing could be without to hurt him. Okay. Earlier still, one who holds doctrines of philosophical idealism. So idealist is what they would call a dreamer, which is not a bad thing, but you got to know that you are dreaming. It's not real. It's imagination. So until you manifest it and bring it to the physical, it's in your head. And I'm not going to go back and forth and go any deeper on that. But right now, just accept that it's in your head and it comes from thoughts. All right. So the last one today is ideality. Is a noun. 1817. Quality of being ideal as the opposite of reality. So there we go. Ideal is the opposite of reality, or actuality, I prefer to say, over reality. So these words right here, just to share that the attack is on the mind. And that's how you get the body to follow. As they say, you know what I'm saying? You to kill a snake, you got to cut off the head. So to kill a man or woman, you got to program the head. And once you program the head, man or woman is going to run on autopilot, and they're not going to be aware that they're on autopilot because everybody else is on autopilot, and all the autopilot people are moving together autopilotly, like they're doing everything on autopilot. So when somebody comes up that's not on autopilot and they're very sincere in their movement and their speech, but it's not sounding like the people on autopilot, all the idealists have ideas that the people that are not working on autopilot are the problem. Get your own ideas. Start reading, start writing, start reading, start writing. These words are here for everybody, not just them. So again, this next show is going to be other words that's, you know what I'm saying, I'm building. And like I said, take these words and look at them and break them down and put them all together with the other words and start building your sense of awareness as to what's going on. Because again, when we graduate high school, we honestly read on the 8th grade level, if that. Again, all of this is so you can go to the lawyers and attorneys and get these people that they refer to as professionals to do things for you. All it's going to take is some patience and a desire to want to be better, do better, or go better. Whatever your motivation is or purpose, find it, discover it, hone it, nurture it, grow it, manifest it, present it, share it. You know, I may have shared it before, but it was very impactful to me. And, you know, my super depressed days when coming out and, you know, going through my spiritual growth, when the person shared with me, you know, well, not to me personally, but when I heard that depression is the worst form of stinginess. So when you depress, you hide yourself and you lock yourself away and you keep yourself away from others that can benefit from the great gifts that you've been given. But until you are aware of who you are, what you are, and start to love yourself, you'll never be able to share yourself. Think about that. Yeah, the depression is a horrible thing, but it's going to require you to choose not to be depressed, because you are the one that allowed yourself or made a choice to be depressed. You're going to have to choose to be depressed, undepressed. But yeah, truly, everything is you. It's all mental. Everything in this dimension is mental. You're going to hear that is this and hear that is that. But if you allow yourself to step back and really think about it, nothing happens that you don't think about. You don't do anything that you don't think about first. You know, it's the cause and reaction. Excuse me, cause and effect. The cause is always stronger than the effect. You know what I'm saying? So you have to think it before you do it. So yeah, like I said, hey, it's major out there, and right now with the times that we're in, it's no more playing. They're not playing, and they done pulled the veil, but people are still acting like the veil is on it. They can't see what they're seeing. These people are showing you full face, mugs up, no mask, who they are, what they are, and they're telling you. But the hypnosis is so just so tough that you want to allow yourself to break free. It's as though you can't operate without being gripped by them. That's major, truly major. But again, you're going to have to make a decision that you want to be better, that you're going to be better, and that you know there's better. And just begin to do better. It's a process. It's going to take time. It's going to take months, years, days. But the thing is, compound interest. You have to compound the effect. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and build yourself up. Before you know it, you'll be putting 2 to 3 hours into yourself to bring up your value, to increase your value, your knowledge, your worth, your love, anything. I mean, if you need to start off with the food, with the health, um, words, the law, spirituality, you know, your brain, psychology. I mean, there's so many avenues to get to yourself, but you're the one that have to do that. So what you do is begin reading, find a subject, and start asking questions within that information that you receive. And once you begin to ask those questions, you allow the universe to bring you those answers. That's very important. You have to ask the questions before you get the answers. You can't get the answers before you ask the questions. And awareness or knowledge of is what's going to help you formulate questions. Because if you don't know what you're looking at or what it's about, you don't know what questions to ask to get you to that next stage. That's all it is, y'all. It's incremental progression and step by step. You can't just leap. If you leap, you're going to jump in a pile of shit and you're not going to want to leap no more. You're going to be stuck. That's not where you want to go. So find something that you're interested in and go for it. You know what I'm saying? Start asking yourself questions, find something, and just be amazed at this information. And one thing I can say, like straight up, is that right now, this information that I've accessed and continuously to access, continue to access, I know this is not anything that I'm supposed to have my hands on or anything near it, but I asked them questions. I made a decision to grow beyond where I was, and by asking questions, the universe provided me answers. So got to a point where, hey, I'm not going to be able to do all of this myself. I'm going to need help. Excuse me, we're all going to need help. And community is what it's about, not communism. Community, or excuse me, cooperation, cooperations, co-op, together, working together, cooperation. That's the word, cooperation. You have to do it together. All right, so again, I appreciate you checking me out. The words today: I, ego, super ego, id, yon, yonder, idiom, idiosyncrasy, crazy, crazy. Oh, shoot. Speaking of idiosyncrasy, there's a movie out called Idiosyncrasy. I've never seen it because when it came out at the age I was in, the age I had no interest in that movie, but I am going to check it out for the fact that I know that the creator is tied in to all this other stuff. So I'm interested to see what he reveals in his movies that actually took place in life and leading to today, because I believe, from my understanding, that that is the movie that introduced the world to those ugly ass shoes, them Crocs. Yeah, so like I said, the movie Idiosyncrasy, I'm not getting paid from it, but I'm gonna check it out and just be amazed and laugh, because I know I'm gonna see some silliness, and being able to see things as I'm able to do is gonna be goofy. And they're going to be speaking and giving information, but for those that are only looking at it at surface level, they're getting what they get out of the movie. So again, Idiosyncrasy, check it out. Look for cycles. I think that movie may have came out like mid 2000s, early 2000s or something. Don't quote me, but it is an older movie, and I'm sure a lot of what happened in that movie, as they say, they like to say they predicting the future, but they ain't predicting shit. They have inside information. They know what's going on, and they present it to you, and they're supposed to present it to you, and you're supposed to catch on to it. If you don't catch on to it, then you're one of the ones that's going to be lost. That's simply how they look at it, and that's how they do it. Again, witchcraft, witchery, spells, broadcasting, all of it. It's all for you. All right. Well, again, this is Code Red. I am Keystone. I am amplifying energy frequencies and information that generates increases of consciousness, self-awareness, and self-love for those men and women who do not know who they are or the power they possess. Have a great day.